Welcome to the April 13th, 2023 elected council meeting of the Interfaith Council of Contra Costa County. We've added some new YouTube additions, including our last meeting on March 9th, the parts 1, 2, and 3 of the Multi-Faith Action Faith Leader Advisory, and the March 20th Big Questions with Reverend Rodney Lemery and Dr. Nazir Ahmed with the Rossmore's Big Question series. Upcoming events, there's lots around Earth Day happening. MDUUC is hosting an Earth Day celebration at Civic Park on Saturday, April 22nd from 11 to 2 p.m. Interfaith San Ramon Valley is putting on Earth Fest, Seed Hope, Seed Change, April 23rd from 1 to 4 p.m. Lafayette is doing an Earth Day festival Sunday from 11 to 2. And there's the movie that's a part of MDUUC's Sunday lunch, and The Ants and the Grasshopper, a great new interfaith movie around climate change. You can watch it online and then discuss it with folks. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is helping co-host a volunteer Walnut Creek Fair on Saturday, May 20th. From 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Civic Park inside the community center there. And we'll have a table there, but your organization may want to have a table there as well. And especially if you need volunteers for any of your projects, our iCare project team will be there, perhaps singing messengers and others. iCare is has need for individual volunteers and congregational co-sponsors for a few. Take a look at your agenda to see all of those different ones coming up. But the next biggest ones are the White Holding Express, volunteer sign up, and the Monument Crisis for Honoring Moms, Monument Crisis Center. Meaningful Mondays will next meet on May 1st at noon, and we're going to be finishing up the book Sufism, A Bridge Between Religions, and asking some questions of each other as we choose a new book. And the registration information for that is on our website on the events calendar. So we're glad that everyone's here. We're together, almost ready to get our meeting started. Reverend Julius Van Hook is our moderator today, and why don't you take it away, Reverend Van Hook?
Reverend Julius, if you're trying to speak, you're on mute.
While he's getting his audio set up, Diane, would you mind leading us in the approval of minutes? And then I'll do a land acknowledgement. Hopefully Reverend Van Hook will get us going before then.
Sure. Are there any corrections or comments on the minutes from March? If not, then we'll go ahead and move that we approve the minutes from last month. All in favor, raise your hand, or some sort of use the last. It looks like.
You can use the raise hand on your reactions too, and
yeah, okay.
Right.
You have to remember to lower your hand then.
Yeah. It looks like it's passed, and it's like we're having people come in.
Okay, well, let's get started with.
It's been approved, so go ahead with the land acknowledgement, Will.
Of course, thank you. One of the things I've been doing in my congregation, rather than just saying the same land acknowledgement once or twice or 3 or 4 times a month, we've been learning about different indigenous peoples around the world. So as we remember and commit ourselves to being good neighbors with our indigenous folks here in the East Bay, whether they're Ohlone, Bay Miwok, Tashiokuts, or Patwin, we can also get to know others, including the Himba tribe. There are 1.3 billion people in Africa in 54 countries. There are more than 3,000 tribes across the continent of Africa. One of the indigenous tribes in Africa who have preserved their cultures for centuries is the Himba tribe. Men and women of the Himba tribe are known for their unique hairstyles that incorporate red paste of red ochre, butter, and fat known as ojitse. They use this on their hair and skin to make their bodies glow with beauty. Located in Namibia's Kunene region, the Himba tribe dates back to the 16th century. There are between 30 and 50,000 in the tribe today. The red ochre cream that the Himba are famous for is made by pounding the ochre stone hematite into small pieces. After that, the fragments are mixed with butter, slightly heated using smoke, and applied on the skin. After many conversations with the elders of the tribe, it's easy to conclude that the main reason for the red ochre is to establish a difference between men and women. Moreover, the red layer seems to help against the scorching sun radiation while keeping the skin clean and moist, and to some extent it blocks hair growth on the body. The Himba people stick to porridge. Every morning and evening they heat some water, wait until it boils, and put some flour on it. Maybe add some oil, and food is served. The flour is mostly from maize, but from time to time you might find some mahangu flour as well. Mahangu is another name for pearl millet. It is a prevalent crop in Namibia since it performs well in ecosystem and soils with low fertility. On rare occasions such as weddings, the Himba do eat meat, but this is more of an exception than a rule. They're also a polygamous culture, with the women having many biological fathers of their children. Despite having one father for each mother, there isn't much jealousy because they believe biological and non-biological children deserve equal treatment. Archaeologists estimate that 48% of extra-pair paternity among the Himba. More than that, 70% of married couples with children had at least one child sired by a man other than the mother's husband. One of the most remarkable Himba traits is that women are not allowed to use water for washing. This implies themselves and also their clothes. Again, according to the elderly, this dates back to the great droughts where water was scarce and only men were allowed access to water for washing purposes. Apart from applying red ochre on their skin, Himba women do take a daily smoke bath to maintain personal hygiene. They will put some smoldering charcoal in a little bowl of herbs, mostly leaves and a few branches of the commiphora trees, and wait for the smoke to ascend. After that, they will bow over the smoking bowl, and due to the heat, they'll start perspiring. For a full body wash, they cover themselves with a blanket so that the smoke gets trapped underneath the blanket. What a beautiful people that we're learning about. Susie.
In solidarity with one another, we each affirm our gatherings are interfaith gatherings. We come together from diverse communities to be inspired and transformed by the rich diversity of other faith traditions. It's hard for me to see the whole thing. We commit ourselves to compassionate and active listening as we engage in respectful dialogue. We welcome those who might differ from us, seeking their wisdom and insights. Each of us shares in the privilege of growing in interfaith and understanding. Our working together for a common cause brings us together in peace. We are responsible for the work and outreach.
I think this was this Economics portion.
Next person,
Yeah.
okay.
We are responsible for the work and outreach of the Interfaith Council of Contra Costa County. The governing board provides the necessary oversight and will be attentive to the elected council's ideas, wisdom, and suggestions. We will strive to support and participate in the various outreach programs sponsored and supported by the Interfaith Council. We hold ourselves to the highest ethical standards as we grow together in trust and respect for one another. Our time together is the practice of interfaith understanding, cooperation, and respect. We hope our time together will bless one another, our community, and the world.
So we thought rather than having just one faith reflection this month, we would ask all of those who attended any of the Interfaith Iftars to share about their experience and which ones they attended and what was meaningful to them. Let's move into that. Who would like to go first?
I think, was it Greg that was going to go first? Is he here? Go ahead, Greg,
can.
and then Greg, then Christine, and then me, and then Reza.
Okay. Well, first of all, I feel blessed to have attended the events, and it was that weekend was quite a weekend for me because on Friday night I went to a Seder at my son's Waldorf school in El Sobrante, and it was prepared. The food and everything was prepared by the kids and the third graders, and it was really, that was cool. The is it Ahmadiyya? Is that the right pronunciation? The Ahmadiyya Muslim community welcomed us. That was like Sunday night, and it was kind of interesting. The very first thing so I went with my wife Marianne. The very first thing that struck us is right when we walked in the door, they separated the men and women, and that was just striking, I guess. And the just the warmth and the joy and the just the welcomingness, if that's a word, of the community was really terrific. And then the two observations. One is that I was of course in the men's room, a men's area, and there was a woman who was sitting in the room at the very front, and one of the I guess leaders of the community came and talked with her very calmly, and probably trying to explain that this was the men's section. Well, she was a representative of one of the public officials, so she stayed, and all was good. But it just was a neat, little conflict resolution, humanistic kind of a thing. And the second was on the way home, I asked my wife, how did you enjoy being with the women? And she said, oh, they're wonderful, very friendly. And she said, you know what? In their families, the men cook the meals. So I don't know if that's universal, within the Muslim community, but that was striking. And then I know I'm not supposed to say much about the Sufi, but the Sufi affair was great. The white robes, the glorious temple they had built, and the singing, the chanting and singing of the Allahu was it was almost spiritual. It was terrific. So I just again feel blessed to have participated, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Greg. And I'm going to say a little bit more about the wonderful iftar at the MTO Shah Maksudi School of Islamic Sufism, which we attended. And as Greg said, it was just a wonderful experience, a beautiful venue, a wonderful program explaining the background of this particular sector of Islamic Sufism, and a wonderful dinner, wonderful people. And I wanted to just focus on one of the meditative practices that we actually had a chance to experience, and that is called tamarkoz. I'm going to put that in the chat, so you don't have to try to wonder how to spell it. But it is basically the art of self-knowledge through concentration and meditation. So we actually experience this. It's mind relaxation, meditative movements, breathing exercises, deep relaxation, visualization and imagery, and ultimately connection with the heart. And this quiets the mind, focuses on the heart, and it's from the heart where inspiration, guidance, and a long-lasting sense of peace emerge. And indeed, that's exactly what I had experienced. It's interesting because it's actually backed by research. Multiple studies have been done on the practice of tamarkoz at numerous universities and medical centers, and the results of these studies have shown its positive physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual effects. Tamarkoz is currently used by medical professionals and their patients across the globe. So it was just a wonderful experience.
Thank you, Christine. That was great. And just so you know, you can type in Tamarkoz into your app, and they have a free download of meditation app. And it was easy to download. So just use the spelling and look at it in your wherever you get your apps. The next section, or one of the other sections that I thought was so unique, was and Reza, help me, is it Zikar?
Vic.
Zik,
Yes.
and it literally means remembrance. It is usually done in groups, sitting on the floor in a cross-legged position. A sacred word or phrase is repeated with various melodies while moving from left to right, forming the sign of infinity. So they were so kind to some of us. They gave some of us chairs to sit in, or if we chose to sit on the floor, they gave us a cushion. And you sit cross-legged, and they sing a song which has a chorus in it, or a chant. They sing a chant with a chorus. And most of us were able to sing the chant. I don't know if you tried to sing the song. It was a little more difficult, but we sat on the floor, and we repeated the chant, and it started out slowly, and you kind of tap on your knees like this. And as a musician, I feel it's a way of keeping the beat. That's their not conscious that they know they're doing that, but that's what I feel like they're doing. And then we would sing the chant, and you would start slowly, and you move your head back and forth in a kind of a figure eight. And then it just kind of grew and grew, and it went into a faster pace, which as we all know, as humans, we speed up when we clap. If you've been at any sports event, you'll know, like, the cheers will just go faster and faster. That's totally normal. But what I was impressed with is how we came to a pace that was kind of our rhythm, the group rhythm, and then we all slowed the chant down together. The leaders sort of help with that, but it was a beautiful retard in what we were doing. And it was and in the middle of this chant that we were doing, I felt the other thing that they talked is the Zeke is supposed to be unity, and I felt this human connection with people I don't know in the room and with the people that were in the room. It was kind of a flush of, and I thought, if we all danced together or moved together, there would be peace in the world. There was no way. You just felt this kind of connection in the room that was totally beautiful at the highlight of the chant. And then as it slowed down, we kind of came together. It was an incredible moment, and I'm happy to be able to share that. Reza?
Yes. Thank you. It's a joy to be here. And I'm so delighted to hear all these kind words. It was a joyful event, full of energy, full of the presence. I'm going to touch base a bit on prayer, or in Arabic called salat. Salat, or prayer, is one of the most important components of Islam. And the Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him, has said salat, or prayer, is the pillar of religion. And he also said, the person who prays is knocking at the heavenly gate, and verily it shall be opened with him who knocks. And the word salat, according to Professor Sadegh Agha, literally means to call and to perform. It is to seek closeness to God. The true and complete prayer is to call and to desire God, to deny one's own self's desires in the presence of the Lord, and to accept oneself as ephemeral and God as eternal. And then toward the end, do the timing, I would like to quote from Miss Barbara Taylor, which we study her book, Holy Envy, her observation watching a Muslim prayers together. It was like watching a huge, perfect wave curl up and fall with a rush toward the shore. Thank you.
Thank you, Reza. We also had an iftar that some of the iCare folks did at Nasli's house. Nasli Shujar, one of our elected council members in Concord, opened her house to about 40 people and lots of food. I know Dave Longhurst was there and Ginny were there. Either of you want to share about Nasli's iftar?
It was absolutely fabulous. Nasli and her friends. We had representatives from her faith in Pleasanton, the mosque in Pleasanton, and there was a very nice breaking of the fast together, with everyone getting a lovely medjool day at, I think it was 7:33. There was Muslim prayers and chantings, and we had a youth there that would participated, and one of the wives of the organization. All of her neighbors of 30 years were there, of all different faiths, and we had a wonderful feast there. There was a talk about some phrases in the Quran relating to Mary and Jesus, and I think we learned a lot about Islam at that iftar, and I was very thrilled to be invited. Thank you, Nasli.
It was very, very touching to hear the teaching from Abbas and others in the community and the recitation from the young man. Did anyone attend any Passovers? We had a Holy Convergence this year of Holy Week from Western Christianity, Passover and Ramadan. And so did anyone attend any Passover Seders that, in addition to what Greg mentioned, that you'd like to share about here too? All right, hearing none, Reverend Julius, take it away. You're still muted, Reverend Julius.
Okay, sorry, I was having some technical difficulties. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, thank you everyone for sharing. Next, we have our ICHANGE report. And I just kind of want to give you an idea of what's been going on. The good news is that we have been continuing to move in spite of all that we have all been experiencing as a result of this pandemic. We had a wonderful Kwanzaa project. We had a special project, and we actually had this event on March 1st at the Juvenile Hall, and we partnered with Sent Ministries at Golden Hills Community Church, and we had a wonderful event. We've been doing some outreach into the community, into different faith communities. Reverend Alexandria and I visited the Golden Hills Community Church, as well as the Muhammad Mosque number 26, and the Allen Temple Baptist Church. We've been working on successfully recruiting spiritual care volunteers. We're working on building up our infrastructure for our administrative infrastructure, working on our website, working to make sure that things are continuously updated to reflect all the information and how we're growing. We've been working to navigate all of the changes with new administration there at the Juvenile Hall and actually moving into some community things. We're looking forward to expanding our chaplaincy program into the community as the need has shifted as a result of some of the laws that have changed. We have a full report that's listed in the agenda that will go into more detail of a lot of the things that we have been doing. But I really just wanted to highlight that we are back as of April 3rd. Our volunteers can now come back into the facilities without restrictions. And we have some new policies and procedures that we're putting in place to make things much easier and to make things flow a lot better for everyone that's coming in to visit the hall. As many of you may know, the ranch, Byron Boys Ranch, also known as Orrin Allen Youth Rehabilitation Facility, has closed, and all of the youth that are detained are being held at the juvenile hall. Right? So that's pretty much our report. There's more information in our agenda.
Do you, Reverend Julius and Reverend Alexandria, would you like folks to take a look at the data that you're that you're kind of listed on that survey that you're putting together, and to see if there's anything that that we may want to suggest that you also add to that survey information, or is that information just for us to see where things are?
Sure, you can share that information. What we've started to do is we've come up with a data reporting system internally so that we can track what we're doing in our spiritual care ministry. So we can have an idea of the people, all of what we're doing in ministry, and gathering information about the youth and the people that we provide spiritual care to, so that we are using evidence-based practices and being driven by our data. We have reports that we make to probation. We do them quarterly now. And this information that we gather really helps us to know what it is that we're doing. We know each of the faith traditions of the young people, all the different spiritual materials that are distributed, all the different types of services and counseling that we have going on. We're taking all of that data and putting it together and creating charts and graphs so that we know what we're doing and we can report out on this information as needed.
I see Diane has her hand up.
Reverend Julius, how has the closing of the Byron Boys Ranch affected the juvenile hall population? Is it overcrowded, or what's going on with that? How's that working? The assimilation of the kids into the juvenile hall.
Yes, thanks for asking. Many of them have been there before. They've a lot of our youth are returning. They have oftentimes been in either program, one at the ranch or at the hall. And also, it hasn't been bad. I think the major problem has been, I won't say problem, but the major issue per se is, the staff that has never worked at the juvenile hall, that have only worked at the ranch. They're getting acclimated, and that's caused, there's an acclimation period that we're going through. Officers that are and counselors that are not even used to the facility and things that are happening there. But the youth are fine. There are different units. There are incentive units, and there are programs that are shaped to make our step down program much lighter, I'd say, than even the traditional program, which is light. So you can tell that there's a difference in the program that used to be at the ranch that's being offered at the hall now.
Dave has his hand up.
Reverend Julius, I wonder if you could just comment on how elected council members can help support this ministry, the ICHANGE ministry. For example, are there volunteer opportunities that we should be sharing with our faith communities?
Yes, thank you so much, Dave, for asking. And Reverend Alexandria and I are, as we were saying, we're continuing to update our website, our webpage, to make sure that we have accurate information. We are looking for people that are interested in being spiritual care volunteers, that are interested in coming into the hall, or there are other ways that you can provide ministry as well. We do have interest forms, or we should have an interest form that you can go on the website and fill out We would love to come to your congregation. We're going to be providing more information about ways that we can set that up if there's more information you'd like us to put out into your individual communities. So we're looking for volunteers and just different ways to partner and come up with different programs and projects that we can do in the juvenile hall and in the community. So we are also even looking for individualized ideas that some different congregations may have. And we're going to find a way to bring those things to fruition. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you very much,
Reverend,
and really appreciate the ministry you're doing.
great work, Reverend Julius and Reverend Alexandria. Reverend Julius and I have been in conversations about potentially making a statement about the news that you may have heard recently around the Antioch Police Department secret racist texting group. It's kind of bowled over into some conflict inside the Antioch City Council meeting last Tuesday night. You want to say more about this, Reverend Julius?
Yes. Some time ago, when I was first starting, I've shared a story where one of the officers, one of the juvenile institutional officers, told me one day that the youth that come in from Antioch are always they're always more beat up and traumatized than the other youth that come in. And this is something that had been going on that they hadn't been saying anything about, but one of them had mentioned it to me. The problem is that this has been going on for some time now, and this is not the first time that it's been brought to our attention. So now we're looking to figure out how to mobilize as a community and as a council to make sure that we are supporting even the youth that we serve and the families that we serve that are directly affected by what has been going on as a result of this police department. We've even had firsthand testimonies of our youth who have suffered at the hands of the Antioch Police Department. And so now that this has come to light even more, we're looking to mobilize and figure out what we can do to support the community.
We are often looked to as one of the moral voices in our county. We do make statements. We have a whole criteria for doing that, but this one we wanted to kind of open up to see who else would like to be a part of a writing team to help make a response that the governing board will take into account all of our dialogues in the making of that statement and then put it out. But if there's anyone else in the community and the elected council that wants to be a part of that, why don't you just text me or text me directly in the chat room, or text me on my mobile number 925-933-6030. 933-6030 was the phone number when we were in Walnut Creek still, but now it's our mobile number. And let us know if you'd like to join that team, and we'll be assembling that team to meet in the next week or two. Anything else, Reverend Julius?
That's all for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our dialogue for the day is around Earth Day, and we're going to be breaking up into small groups here in just a few minutes. And we'd like to talk about these questions. How does your faith tradition describe its relationship with the natural world? What positions has your tradition taken on Earth care? And what programs have you done around Earth Day in the past? You'll notice that there's lots of different Earth Day events coming up in your agenda, and we listed some of them at the beginning. We'll list them again at the end of our meeting. But that's our conversation for the day, and we'll be taking about 30 minutes for this conversation. So we're breaking you up into groups of 3 or 4. And looks like we've got a good mix here. So I'm going to open up the rooms, and you can hit the join button as that comes up on your screen. Welcome back, siblings. Reverend Julius, you want to take us through our report back? We welcome Rhonda Franklin with us today. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me, Reverend McGarvey. I apologize for being late. I will be on this. I'm committed to it. I had a great time with Christine and Kershid and Dennis. And so I plan to be part of your community. Thank you for having me.
You're always welcome.
And we would love for her to come back and speak again.
Yeah. We'll probably need another update on your work soon.
Yes, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Thank you. Thank you,
Cool.
Christine.
Who wants to report back one of the best ideas you heard, and then but email me at the email I'm putting into the chat room, interfaithccc@gmail.com. Who wants to go first?
I'm happy to go. I was in group 5, and we had Reza and Babak and Reverend Julius in our group. We all shared that our faith community just really values nature and values the creation and sees the divinity in things around us and nature around us. We had a conversation about the importance of diversity. I think that the Baha'i community has a strong statement in support of diversity in the natural world. Reverend Julius mentioned that in the Black church at large, there's eco-theology. They focus on sustainable practice, focus on healthy food programs, and then also being involved in the political process. We spent some time talking about Earth Day, and Babak and his wife are involved in some of the planning for that event, for the event in Danville, the Earth Day Fest, the first interfaith kind of in our area here, that interfaith event that's all co-sponsored by the town of Danville. And it's kind of cool to see an interfaith, working with a government organization on a big project like this. And the focus of that event will be very positive. Look at all the good things that are happening, and let's just do more of it. Which, rather than being a negative like all the problems, it's really a positive focus. I love that. And then the last, we just talked about the legacy that we leave. That each of our decisions about climate, how we manage our life through food, through the way we interact with the energy systems, all of that sort of leaves a legacy for us. And when we think about our grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren, that we'll want them to look to us as someone who was really farsighted and concerned about them and taking actions that will make the world a better place for them to live in.
Thank you, Dave. Who was in room 2?
Room 2 was Ginny Ali, Ekanatha Pai, and Greg Kamilioff, and myself. And we had a wonderful discussion. Greg shared the Zen perspective, and from a book he read by Suzuki Zen, and it talked about, again, interconnectedness of maybe a single. He read a poem that he loved, and I will try and share that. He's going to share that with me, and I'll try and share that with everyone else. And I'll send it to you, Will. It was called The Waterfall, but it was talked about how much work a droplet of water would take to get through the waterfall, and the interconnectedness of that water, of that one drop of water. And it was a beautiful analogy. And Ekanatha talked about interconnectedness, and how the daily prayers even include acknowledging the earth. And one of their prayers is and salutation. They give salutations, and then before they get up, the prayer says, please excuse me, Earth, or the Earth, please excuse me. I'm putting my leg upon you. Please excuse me. As a part of acknowledging that their presence is on the Earth. I thought that was wonderful. And it's really, with Hinduism, it's really connected. That's part of their festivals, cleaning, being clean and cleaning not only the house, but your mind probably, and the house, the garden, and then the community, the villages and the community, and even how the cosmos has effect on our connectedness with the sun and the moon having effect on our daily lives. So it's very integral in their prayers, which is kind of contrary what I feel with maybe Christian prayers, but we obviously have our Earth Days and have programs. The disciples of Christ have a green chalice program that is for the earth. And Jenny talked about just very much being stewards of the earth, and they just believe this deeply and have prayers, and they try to teach their children and the children that to appreciate nature and the beauty and diversity and harmony that is intertwined with their culture as well. Jenny, if you want to add anything, please, you may. She has also some information she'll share with me later.
Anything to share there, Jenny?
I don't think so. Just that all of this works in unison with the whole earth. All of our prayers and all of our efforts are toward the betterment of the world, materially and spiritually.
Nice.
And we our connection to organic things as well, minerals, vegetables, plants, trees, and the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, which has always been in the beginning and always will be at the end, connecting all of humanity with nature.
Thanks. Room 1, Amelia, Ben, Kate, and Sharon.
Yes. So we talked about our home congregations and what we're doing at our home congregations, for example, of solar panels, native plants, our campuses being open to all species to live. And then we also talked about involvement in the community activities, especially around Earth Day and what our individual congregations do up and down the 680 corridor, as far as sustainable Walnut Creek down to Dublin, where there's Earth Day activities. There's a lot of talk about that there's an acknowledgement that science and spirituality can be in harmony, and that we have a voice in the spiritual community. We have a voice with our schools, which are often wasteful in terms of paper, supplies, and even food, in the cafeterias, that we have a voice as far as, composting in our housing communities, and that we have a voice with, federal and state laws around these issues, and that we should use our voice.
Thank you. Room 3, Christina Doe, Dennis Wasco, Kershid, and Rhonda.
Yes, well, we had a wonderful discussion also, and we represented Catholic, Episcopalian, Baha'i, and Christian faiths. And like many of, much as that has already been said, all of our traditions support the respect for the earth. And we talked about, I especially loved what Khurshid said about the Baha'i, that the earth can teach us humility, because it is so wonderful and could do so many things, and yet we walk upon it. It's under our feet. And Dennis brought up a book that his book club had recently read, and it sounded wonderful. It's called Earth, Our Original Monastery, and what we can learn from that. And I'll be glad to put that, or maybe Dennis, you could put that in the chat. We also discussed, and you guys can help me out here, Pope Francis's encyclical about Laudate Se, and again, how faith leaders are really leading in terms of how we look at the earth. We also talked about things that we did as a child. Rhonda mentioned the cleanups that she did as a child that now she remembers and that were meaningful in terms of creating a tradition. And then I remembered that our church actually does get involved in cleaning up the Pinole Creek and other things. Let's see, anything else that you guys can think of? Oh, wait, I was going to bring up a brilliant idea that Dennis had, which is we all agree that we're all so busy, it's kind of hard to do everything. But Dennis had the brilliant idea of checking the Interfaith Council list of Earth Day activities that we might want to be involved in. And Dennis, you were going to say something?
Yeah, Christine, I just wanted to add, at least in our group, there are a couple of communities that don't, and mine is one of them, Clayton and Pleasant Hill, they don't do composting. They don't collect food scraps. We do the recycling and so on, but we don't have the food scraps, and that would be one thing that maybe our congregations can push to our local authorities.
Nice. Dale or Leonard, would one of you like to share? Since I'm taking notes.
I think from a United Methodist perspective, sharing that we have a climate justice task force, and that task force has just completed a resolution that we're submitting to our annual conference and sending on this June and sending on to our general conference for next year. But it's really amending a resolution that's been around since 1980 and continually gets updated about socially responsible investing. We've just had the task force just had a 6-part webinar, just trying to help educate people in our conference on issues around climate justice and things that people can do to help in their own personal lives, as well as in their congregations, and what work they can do, advocacy work they can do in the state of California and in the nation. So I think, as I said, we're trying to think globally and act locally, but also acting globally as well as we help our brothers and sisters in Mississippi obtaining water. And so working with the California Interfaith Power and Light, so that we can do those energy audits and those type of things. So I think my denomination is trying to be proactive, but as we all know, we can all do more, and there's still lots to learn.
Thanks. And I shared a little bit about our ICANGE work, especially around the refineries and working with CIPL and doing advocacy work in Sacramento as well as locally. Lots of resolutions to decrease our own climate footprint while encouraging the policy and infrastructure changes necessary to bring about increase in renewables. There are some lobby days coming up in April and May, and if you want to be a part of any of those with our ICANN, please let me know. Jan Warren is our chair of our Interfaith Climate Action Network that is a subcommittee of Dennis's SOJA, and does advocacy focusing on climate and those kinds of things. All right, we're to our time. Community announcements. Does anyone have a community announcement to make? And then we'll have a closing benediction from Reverend Julius.
So I have an announcement. We had our monthly iCare meeting yesterday, and we decided to launch a new iCare project. This one will be in early June. And we had the Jewish Family and Community Services, which are very involved with refugee resettlement, indicated that they're getting a huge uptick in refugees coming from Ukraine. And they resettled, they said, like 9 families last week, and they expect that number to increase. So that's, we're talking about, 40, 50, 60 a month of families. And that's just a lot to take on. They indicated they're running low on their hygiene kit supplies, and they would really appreciate this project. So we jumped on it. In fact, Temple Isaiah jumped on it immediately, and they're going to co-sponsor this project. They're looking for other co-sponsors. This project, it's the more the merrier. So if you would like to be involved, just reach out to me or Terry, and we can get you plugged into that project. Thanks so much.
David, did you also want to mention about the Joy Conference?
Oh yeah, well this is something at the Graduate Theological Union. I'm involved there with some Latter-day Saint sort of activities, but there is a conference that's scheduled. What is the date now? Gosh, it's coming up later in April. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but if anybody's interested, what it is, it's an all-day conference where there will be speakers. There, I think 10 or 12 speakers from the GT, from the Graduate Theological Union, are going to address the topic of joy, and how they think about that from their religious tradition. So there will be various speakers, and then there's a couple plenary speakers from both Yale and Harvard that should be really good as well. But maybe I could put out if you're interested, I'm happy to put this out to the whole elected council as just an opportunity to listen in on some academics, speaking in an interfaith setting about the topic of joy.
That sounds
Lovely.
great.
Diane and then Amelia.
Yes, I happened to talk with the Rainbow Community Center, Christina Zaldana, and they have a special event, Pride on the Plaza, June 17th, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Todos Santos Park in Concord. And as we know, we need to support our rainbow community at this time. They also have a Cinco de Mayo event at Del Cielo. If you like beer, they have an event there from 4 to 10. It's in downtown Martinez Escobar. So if any are interested in more information, let me know and I'll send you some flyers that I have on that. That's 2 events that they're having.
Great. Amelia and then Dale.
The National Day of Prayer that is being hosted by Supervisor Halbert for Alameda County, but everyone's welcome, is on May 4th at the Pleasanton Fairgrounds, and I can forward a flyer if that's okay, if you want to share that with everybody. And then we're also having a Race Amity Day on June 11th, and it's at Las Positas College. And when that flyer gets put together, I can forward that as well.
If you go onto our events page, there's a little submit your event button that brings up a form that you can upload all of your information. And I approve it before it goes up on our account, but that lets me know what's coming in so that I can share it in our e-blasts.
Okay.
So please do that. There's also an East County Interfaith Prayer Breakfast on May 4th being planned for 8 or 9 a.m. I think it's in Brentwood. And when I get that information, it'll go up to Dale.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to let you know Easter Hill United Methodist Church in Richmond, California is having our 71st annual Women's Day celebration on April 23rd, the day after Earth Day, at 10 o'clock in the morning, and Reverend Carol Estes is our guest speaker. Reverend Will, I did put a flyer in the chat. Thanks.
Thank you.
And there's the eye care event on May 7th, Sunday, May 7th, of doing food bags at the White Pony Express.
I think some of the information is in the eye care report.
That's in the eye care report, okay.
And that's one that your congregation's participating in, Leonard?
Yeah, we're participating, right.
Great.
Yeah, Leonard, I didn't mean to overlook that. That was already scheduled and planned, and we were on, and that's really got great sponsors. So thank you, Leonard. But I was just kind of announcing something that wasn't on the ICHANGE report.
Great. Reverend Julius, why don't you lead us on with the benediction?
Gathered in our very faith, we give thanks for the blessings of world community. As we share our common dream, homes and schools where children thrive, neighborhoods that are safe and clean, a city rich in colors and cultures, an economy where no one is expandable. A beloved community where rich and poor alike have access to the opportunity for a dignified and productive life. Churches, mosques, synagogues, and temples, where our deepest hope is to be of service to a hurting world. Enable us as we leave this place to carry forth this prayer into the coming week, turning our thoughts toward charity, our hearts toward justice, and our hand towards the work of peace. Shalom, salam, amen, and ashe. Thank you.
Ashe. Thank you. Here's some of those upcoming events, and our interfaith calendar was a little lower in your agenda. Lots of interfaith stuff, including our Holy Convergence that we're in right now, as Eastern Holy Week continues this week, and Passover continues through today, and Ramadan through the end of that month. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of new YouTube editions, including a Big Questions with Reverend Rodney Lemery and Dr. Nazir Ahmed. And if you missed the Faith Leader Advisory Luncheon, there's 3 parts to it on YouTube, as well as last month's meeting. MDUC is putting on the Interfaith Celebrate Earth Day at Civic Park this next Saturday, a week from this Saturday, April 22nd, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. with some good information there. I serve in South County is inviting the whole county to participate. If you want to be a part of this, our ICANN will have a table, and others bring a drum. There's lots going on at the Earthfest Seed Hope and Seed Change. Lafayette has an Earth Day festival on Sunday afternoon. And there's a movie, if you want to watch and discuss a movie called The Ants and the Grasshopper. MDUC, I think, is helping with the showing of that and the conversations. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is co-sponsoring with the city of Walnut Creek a volunteer fair, May 20th. We'll have a table there. And if you, your congregation might be looking for volunteers to help with some of your projects, so you may want to sign up to have a table there as well. Here's the iCare events, some of the ones that we're highlighting here, including the Honoring Moms, getting ready for Mother's Day with Monument Crisis Center and Meaningful Mondays. All of this information's in your agenda, and we thank you for your participation today, and thanks to Reverend Julius Van Hook for a meaningful report from the ICHANGE committee. We do belong to each other. Let us continue to envision a world of interfaith peace.
Bye all. Thanks, Will.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
Beautiful meeting. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, don't go. Did he go?